hey, it's January 16th at around 3:30 in the afternoon. And I'm like having a really hard time getting these videos out. I'm going to attribute it to Mercury being in my third house, retrograde right now, because I have like such great momentum going before the new year and doing these videos. Like when I felt called to, when I felt like it would be appropriate, or like it just felt like it just felt natural. It felt normal and natural. And then when Mercury went into retrograde, I just, like, I don't know what it was. It's been like a weird 2 weeks of like not talking a whole lot. And like, and that, again, that might have something to do with this Mercury retrograde and Capricorn being in my third house, of communication and just getting, sharing messages, sharing interior environments and internal like perceptions with the rest of the world. I just, like, to be 100% honest, I just have not been feeling it. Like every time I've like tried several times to come on and do a video with you guys, and I'm just like, no, I don't like there. And so I have to listen to that, like it's internal nudging and prompting. And I can't really say that there's anything going on that's like terrible or bad or like wrong in any way, because there's not. It's just like I feel like a reconfiguring of my internal world a little bit, and maybe how I process information and how I think about things and how I like, just go over things and put things into context. My dreams have been very vivid and like just very lucid and very, I just feel like there's something internal in me that is like nudging me to pay attention and needed to almost like kind of close out all external stimuli. And a lot of it, I think, revolves around the verbalization of abstract thoughts and ideas and feelings. A lot of it is like the feeling world being very immersive and like it's hard to even to describe. I'm just like the way that my mind works. I usually have the words to put with the experiences that I'm experiencing, and lately I've not had the words. Like I haven't even been like like wanting to do art and things like that. Like it's just been like a really reflective and thoughtful, disjointed, thoughtful time the last about like 2 weeks. Since the Cancer full moon, that's when I noticed it. And we're coming up on the Aquarius new moon on the 21st, because today's the 16th. So like I've noticed this since around like right after the Cancer new moon, because I was going to do a video for the Cancer new moon, and that's when it really like this emotional environment or this emotional fog. Like I call, like the words that come to mind are like redemptive fog. Like something about it seems redemptive to me in a way, like a grace period or something, like and it, like I said, it's been since the Cancer new moon, which was at the beginning of the month, and I've just been going through these lunar phases since then, and really being like, okay, so there's definitely been like some depression there, like depressive thoughts, and a lot of that has to do with like, okay, so around the Cancer new moon, like the whole concept of like the feeling world was really enhanced and talked about, and kind of analyzed and dissected and, at some points like criticized. And, I see like, I've just been really contemplative with the direction that the world is going. And I don't know if that is like because of both Mercury and Mars being in retrograde, and then the Cancer new moon just kind of like really like swirling these feelings up into realization and manifestation. But it's just been like, for me personally, there's something about it that feels like off or bad or wrong. And I think some of that has to do with the minimization of the importance of emotions and emotional intelligence, and like emotions always being likened to like childish nature or petulance or tantrums, or just how adults view emotions as like this uncontrollable wildfire, which shows even more precisely that we as a society are very like out of tune with the natural emotional evolution that we should be experiencing, almost as like a collective coming of age on an internal level, where those emotions become more regulated and lived in, maybe, and worked out and worked through, to where eventually enough practice with this full spectrum of human emotions can like be a foray into wisdom that our society holds, and seeing just like the lack of wisdom that our society even like works with. And basically like watching the world stage become like a really bad like scene in a high school, like a bad high school or something. Like, I had a great time in high school. I had a great experience in school in general. Like, I had friends in every friend group. I was like a member of the like outcasts group, the musician, artsy, quirky people, but I was friends with like everyone. I even got voted like most outgoing, ironically enough, in on the senior superlatives or whatever. So very opposite of what I've been feeling lately. But yeah, like but like all the things all the bad parts of high school, the pettiness, the like immaturity, the superficiality, the surfacey nature, everything being kind of on the surface. And so when I see the world from that perspective, and then I realize like, okay, well, like, if that is the case, if that is how people are interacting and expecting other people to interact, then like there isn't an emotional evolutionary coming of age process happening. And I think that I'm feeling that. And I'm a Cancer moon, so like emotional intelligence is like how I navigate the world. And so to see people, it just, I don't know, it was like the magic was sucked out of life, the way that I was perceiving life for the last 2 weeks, basically. And like, not only was it like sucked out, it was like flatlined a little bit. And so like I was, like, there's a lot of things that I'm like processing around this time of year personally. My son's 9th birthday just happened on the 14th of January, and I got to talk with him, and just missing him so much, and realizing like basically like the reason it's so complicated to explain is because the things that I'm seeing and perceiving on a wider trajectory are things that I feel are reasons why like things have not manifested or panned out in the way that I had hoped them for in my own life and in my own like trajectory when it comes to like family and like having my own family and being in my son's life and raising my child. Like, you know, my son's, you know, the other person I'm like trying to co-parent with doesn't really value or care or you know, emotional intelligence or maturity is like not important to that other parent. So not only is it not important, but it's like it's weaponized like in my own personal family dynamic, and that is a really hard thing to like deal with and process and work through, you know. And without getting too much into it, you know, that really like puts a damper on what me and my son are capable of. And I think that that's probably the purpose of it. Like, I think that there's a lot of like negative feelings, you know, because that other parent is struggling with that area so much. Like, that other parent feels it okay to like dampen the environment for everyone. And, you know, that's, you know, so like it's been hard. Like, it's been like, I even talking about it right now, I'm like, I don't want to talk about it, and then I know that I should talk about it because I know it's something that's affecting my ability to like put myself out there, you know, like in the ways that I am personally trying to help the collective. But, you know, when your own home life and your own family life is so austere and so absent of love and emotion and presence, you know, it can just be, it just shows me like it fits into a larger dynamic that I think is playing in society, where that's leaving people just very unfulfilled, like unfulfilled in their relationships, like their interactions with other people, like their, like, you know, adult friendships, adult communication in any capacity of anything meaningful has just, and I, you know, maybe you guys can share with me, like, if you also have been experiencing this recently, especially in the last 2 weeks, with Mars retrograde and Mercury retrograde still. It just seems like, it just, like, I do not have the words for it. And I am like, I'm someone who like always has something to say usually about most things, even if it, like, the words just naturally come to me. And this is a perfect example of Mercury retrograde, where the words are just like not coming to me. Like, I almost feel like if I turn this on and I do this with you, like, I'm literally just going to be like sitting here in front of the computer, like, okay, so like maybe I'm in like an observation time period right now. Like, I'm in a more, like, I want to observe more of what I'm starting to perceive. I mean, like, the insights that I've been getting in the last like 2 weeks have just been really intense. Like, some deep primal understanding. Like, and they come with like a flash of insight. And I know Uranus is about to go direct here soon. I think that's the 22nd. So if the new moon is in Aquarius on the 21st and Uranus is going direct on the 22nd, well, Uranus rules Aquarius. So yeah, there's a lot of like ecstatic, eccentric, lightning fast change approaching, and we can kind of like see it off in the horizon later on in the week. And I'm starting to feel like the inner rumblings of that now. I will tell you, like, I was just praying for Mars to go direct so that like I could get some, I was like, wow, this Mars retrograde is like really digging its heels in before it turns direct. But then I really needed to look at the astrology in my own chart, because like that Mars retrograde was, my Chiron is at 7 degrees Gemini and conjunct my North Node at 5 degrees Gemini in the 8th house. But that the Mars retrograde was coming and like kind of hovering over my, right near my Chiron in the 8th house. And so like and then Mercury going retrograde in my 3rd house of communication. So it was like 8th house, really intense, deep, smoldering insights on like primal human behavior on a collective scale, and then the inability to communicate about it, or even to have anybody to communicate to. Like when I talk on these things, I'm kind of like imagining like, not really like I'm talking to everyone and no one at the same time. But I can imagine that, like, you know, people are going to be like observing and kind of taking, you know, hopefully utilizing these videos to like help them either not feel so alone, or not feel so like, just to feel like they like, to feel like they're not alone. Like they have someone who's going through this as well. The weird part to me is like how abruptly these things can change, because like I was on a roll. Like at the end of the year, I was feeling really good. I was doing these videos daily, and I felt communicative. And Mercury was still retrograde in Capricorn during that period, but I felt, I didn't feel like completely stumbling all over my words like I am now. Like I really, like, and I'm grateful for this. Like I have a really expressive personality and expressive nature. So my, like, not being able to express myself, not even artistically, I felt like emotionally like locked in a cage for like 2 weeks since the Cancer full moon. And I wonder, you know, if that was my own reflective nature, just seeing how other people perceive like emotional agility. The other thing is like emotional intelligence is really, really hard. Like, especially when the rest of the environment is so childish and like surface and superficial. Like to me, emotional intelligence and emotions are one of the ways to achieve like higher spiritual understanding. Like that's how I literally experience it internally, is through like emotional environments coming to life inside of me and wanting to share them with other people, you know. And that's like the same thing with having a Cancer moon, you know. So this might be affecting me like a little bit more than most people because I'm a Cancer moon, and it was like the Cancer the 2 weeks of the Cancer full moon, you know, where the full moons and new moons affect the entire 2 week period. That's why they're so prominent. Yes, there is like a climax or a crescendo during the actual full moon and the new moon, but they set kind of like a tone for the 14 to 16 days, you know, of each month. And that's why there's usually a new moon and a full moon in each month. It's, you know, it helps us like really stay in tune with like larger cycles and larger ebbs and flows of our own internal understanding. it's almost like sleep cycles. Sleep cycles are necessary to like process our day-to-day life experiences, sleeping and dreaming. And that's why it's so important to go, get a good amount of regular sleep and go into those cycles, because they help you organize your waking life. So same with like the new moons and the full moons, they help you kind of situate the entire month's events. And so there is comfort in that. Like there's definitely, like even discussing it with you guys here, like there's comfort in knowing that this weird place that I've been, this like emotional flatline, has been around the Cancer full moon. And for me, that was happening in my 10th house. So like, and I have a lot of, there's a lot of things that I want to discuss around that, because I have a really heavy 10th house, Cancer and Leo. Cancer's on the cusp of it, and Leo is the the predominant sign ruling the house. But like Cancer and Leo type things, attributes are like really prominent in my life's purpose. And so like anything involving my son, our development, my life with him, and I can tell like he really misses me, and I really miss him, and we're being kept away from one another just for cruelty purposes, and like some kind of like some dude's like midlife crisis that seems to go on for like decades, and it sucks, and it's pathetic, and it angers me. And and then like I'll finally like express things about it online, and because it's so ugly, like people want to attack me, not the person making the experience ugly for me and my son, because he stays in hiding. And so like it's a lot to deal with personally, but like I usually have like tarot and writing and reading and art and things like that to get myself out of those like more dense headspaces and more like conflicting feelings. But like the last 2 weeks, like I said, I've just been dealing with like an emotional flatline a little bit, or like a depression, maybe like a little bit of like a seasonal depression, because I want to be with my son, and just the holidays, and losing like really good friends close to the holidays, and not really having contact with my family. It's been a lot. So but yeah, like even talking with you guys about it here, like in verbalizing it, one of the reasons I am so verbally like agile is because it helps me understand my internal emotional world. So if I cannot verbalize those things, basically like my internal dialogue has gotten really loud and like really prevalent. And I've kept up with a lot of like self-care things. I've been able to I've really, like during the Virgo moon, I deep cleaned my house again. I've been like, I redid my linen, like I love sleeping in clean, fresh smelling linen, making sure that I'm like getting showers every day, and maybe going and running the lake. And I've also found out that my therapist, who I love and I've been with over 2.5 years, going on 3 years, like she got a promotion. And so I'm going to have to work with a new therapist at the beginning of the month. So I'm like, just a lot of changes. And so like, maybe let's see what the cards have to say, because, maybe they can give us some insight. But like I was saying, like, astrology does work. And when you can come out of whatever little like sabbatical or retreat or whatever that you like, I really feel like I've been in like hermit mode or 8 of Cups mode, just really like not in a retreat for any like, I don't even necessarily feel like anything's happened where I need to like retreat and regroup because of any specific loss or it's just kind of more of like an environment of loss. And when I say that, I'm more speaking like emotionally in in relationship, like our collective societal, like, importance on what it makes me think about. And again, this is a great example of me like not losing my train of thought, but like not having the words. And like, then my thought wants to go to a place where I do have the words, but I'm not necessarily finishing my thought, my original thought, if that makes sense. And again, I'm really like looking forward to Mercury coming out of retrograde. And I think we have like 2 more days left. So right before the new moon, and right before in Aquarius at 2 Aquarius, and then right before Uranus turns direct in also the 8th house for me. It's a lot of 8th house stuff for me right now. Mars is in the 8th for me right now. Uranus is in the 8th for me. So it's just like seeing like deep stuff. And like I feel there's so many things like I'm getting when I go over the last 2 weeks and like insights that I've got. You know, I tried to write down whatever ones I could, but like, oh my God, I have to pee. Now I have to pee. Like, oh my God, I cannot, you know, like that's what I'm saying. Like I just, there's not a lot of smoothness. I have to pee so bad. Like I've been drinking coffee, but again, this hits me like out of the blue. Can't finish a thought. Like jumping from one thing to the next. Lots of 8th house stuff. Lots of 3rd house stuff. So like, you know, this is like the manifestation of those wonky like planetary movements. Like this is like the physical manifestation of that. Let me see if I can hurry up and post some cards so I can go to the bathroom. I'm glad that I actually did this video, because I've like literally not wanted to talk. I have like hardly talked in 2 weeks, except for if it was like my therapist or whatever. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of self-care stuff, been watching a lot of documentaries, catching up on my library books, walking around the lake. We've had like some really nice weather, which is another reason why I wanted to do this today, because it's so beautiful. I originally tried to do these videos a little bit earlier. The clouds were like so awesome behind me. But like I said, I just like couldn't, technical difficulties, you know? So with Mercury now, like starting to go direct, and Mercury about to go direct, and Mars finally out of direction. It's like, I feel like I've like been in some kind of race, and I just took like a bad fall, and I'm like just getting back on my feet and starting to run again. So I apologize if this video has like been weird and wonky, but it's just how it is. I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to do it. Like, probably not going to be the best content ever, but at least I'm doing it. I couldn't even get myself to do it the last couple weeks, you know? I just felt like a challenge. The bigger challenge was like listening to myself and not just doing it. So I had to take the bigger challenge, of course. Because I am kind of like a grit and bear it kind of gal. Like that is definitely part of my persona. But when it came to this like emotional stuff, like I felt, even though it was really foggy, that redemptive fog I keep, you know, coming to, it's like foggy and hazy, but necessary. And I also like went back through like a lot of my old muses, like my music that I used to like saturate myself in, like a lot of like almost going back through my own coming of age, like my teenage year, like what was I listening to, what was I thinking about? Because just because everyone else doesn't want to like evolve emotionally and intuitively, and like they like kind of equate emotions as like a baby crying for its bottle type thing, which is like, wow, that's scary to me. Like what is, like, if that's how adults perceive emotions, like what is speaking then? Like, is it just like an autopilot of like surface tensions that's being like regurgitated back to me, or is there like a real inner world that we're sharing? And the reason I went back to my old music and muses and things like that, and have been kind of immersing myself in that, like the stuff that I used to do in high school and listen to, and then the art, like the styles of art that I was into, ways of dressing, everything. It's not like I've changed that much since then, but just because it was more real. Like it was more real. It was more like honest. It was more authentic of like internal environments. This card just popped out. The world upside down. How perfect for what I'm talking about right now. That's what I feel like. I feel like the world is upside down. And in the 90s, I felt like there was a real retrieval of like highlighting and wanting to bring out and wanting to celebrate authentic emotional expression. And like I really, like for me, it's hard to even understand that someone could have a vibrant spiritual internal spiritual world without having emotional intelligence and emotional awareness, and like the fact that people automatically associate, like it just seems like very convoluted, and like somewhere we missed the mark and got way off the proper developmental trajectory as a society. And so like just because the rest of the world got really superficial and really, it's kind of like what I was talking about before, about like in one of my previous videos about like women wearing like the fake eyelashes and like really putting a lot of emphasis into their physical appearance, but like not having the emotional like nurturance, the evolutionary like emotional nurturance vibe to go along with those physical characteristics that were enhanced, that are supposed to represent, the reason we enhance them is because they're nonverbal cues to represent internal environments, like or something that is not material, that is still needed and still valued and still like a major part of like our human dynamic with one another. And so like that's it, just fake, like a lot of fakeness, like fakeness in human interaction, fakeness in presentation, fakeness in like everybody just wanting like pretty appearances but not wanting the things that you have to grow through to make that beauty real beautiful, like real beauty. Like a lotus, like going through the mud and the muck of life to get to this beautiful blossoming and blooming. It's like there is a shying away of the realness and the grittiness behind what we consider beautiful. And in the 90s, that was not what we were going for. Like as a society, we were going for the most ultimate real, the most ultimate grit, the most ultimate beauty that has all these dimensions of multifaceted colors and shades, and the richness of the real experience is like now kind of like shaved down to like a one to two dimensional things, like, and a lot of it has to do with visual and visual appearances. And then again, I'm sorry, I like do not have the words for this. Basically, like one of my major insights from these last 2 weeks is that like men in general are really like, there's something that they're really missing that comes from their female counterpart, and it's like a, God, I really do not know how to verbalize this, but like, I do feel like it's so important. But it's like, I don't even know if society is ready to hear these kind of things yet. And like, a lot of it comes from me being a mother to a boy child, you know, and like really being able to get into like a masculine perspective because of that. Like some deep unspoken like masculine yearnings and longings that are not being met, that like, as a woman, it's like, do I even have a place to speak on this from? But I do know that I do. I like, as a mother to a male child, yes, I definitely do. And just something about like how women really like be like living up to this like objectification role in the world is really like making the world suck like real bad, like making our day-to-day experiences like very unfulfilling. And something about the richness of women that can't be objectified into like big tits and a big ass. Like there's something like that can't be, that something about womanhood and motherhood and like nurturing emotional like high intelligence that cannot be boiled down to TNA, like tits and ass, basically. Like, and that men, like women, are really like trying to live up to these like bursts of sensual sexual experiences with men that are really short-lived and that are really like just over exaggerated. And I'm sorry guys, I'm sure this video is almost painful to watch, but like I'm trying, I have to try to like verbalize this. I like, maybe this is just like maybe like me trying to express this thing is like gonna come out in like my collages, where I'm just like cutting and pasting little snippets of the insights that I got over the last couple weeks, and like the final product won't be ready until more is unpacked and revealed. And maybe that's like for a divine reason and purpose that is above me, you know. But just something about like women developing emotionally to make our world, our human experience, like what it is, like what we live for, what we wake up for. And having a hard, me personally, like having a hard time just trying to like minimize large parts of who I am and who I've developed myself into becoming, to fit into like this really cheapened, shortened like spurt of exaggerated this and that. You know, it's like the movies nowadays where they're all just visually like, you know, explosions and action and aggression and all this visual like bombardment with no plot line and no character development and no, like the way that movies are nowadays, and like no like deep emotional connection to the characters. And like to me, like that's like the best example I could give of like what this feels like watching a movie like the movies are nowadays, where like it's all just visual bombardment without any meaning or any like healthy development of yourself and the characters through the process. And then you're just left very unfulfilled, kind of confused, and like it just doesn't have the same kind of meat or same kind of realness that reality and life used to have when we were more ready to share ourselves in all these different facets. And so that's one of the reasons why I have to like come on today, is like I had to like dig for enough courage to show you myself, or show myself when I don't have all the words for everything, but I'm in the process of evolution and personal emotional fulfillment. Like, you know, like that card that just jumped out, the world upside down, that's what it feels like to me. It feels like we're not seeing the world right side up. Or it feels like we gave into too much of a patriarchal worldview where everything is just like a visual bombardment action movie for like 2 hours with no meaning and no plot and no emotional like investment. And it just feels like something I could do without. It feels like something very showy and meaningless that I could have gone without, you know? And so I don't like when life is like that, when like everyday life is like that, and the things that, you know, the animated life is just feels like everybody's just trying to like look as good as they can for the couple seconds you pass them on the street, and that's like the extent of everyone's like effort into social emotional engagement. Or like the way people, like I just feel another thing that has been really coming to me is like the lack of like human interaction and how everything is done through social media. So that gave me like a major distaste for social media the last 2 weeks, and like almost like not wanting to engage with that kind of like human interaction, but knowing that this is how we do it now. So like without being on these videos and like sharing myself in this way, you know, that kind of takes me out of my daily and weekly routine, which is like really disorienting. It's just it's weird. It's like I went to sleep, and then like this is what the last 2 weeks feel like. Like I went to sleep in the 90s and I woke up in 2023, and like I'm trying to situate what the fuck happened in the last like 20-30 years of like how people do life. Like it's just, imagine that. Imagine like we were all like in our, you know, who we are now in the 90s, and we went to sleep at night, and then we woke up the next day and it was 2023, and we're trying to like, and we're seeing how people interact with each other, and we're seeing like what is important, and we're seeing like what is popular, and what is like what people are striving for, and the kind of interactions they have, and how they talk to one another and share information about one another. You know, like that's what it feels like to me. Like I'm kind of like bushwhacked by trying to like orient all that, like the difference of like how things have been and how things are now, and like almost a nostalgia and longing for the way things used to be. Maybe not exactly like that, but like an extension, almost like writing the trajectory. Like somewhere in the 90s and early 2000s we got like way off course, and it's like all of a sudden all this inner awareness of like what's wrong and where things were better maybe, or more real and more where we wanted them to be, and like trying to like redo or reconfigure how we present ourselves, what we view as like artistically and socially relevant. Anyways, I've been shuffling these cards for like 40 minutes. Let me go ahead and pull some cards here. Ooh, the web, the tangled web we weave. So that is 8 of Pentacles. 8 of Pentacles. It feels like an 8 of Pentacles kind of day. Craftsmanship and skill. A true spider is... I have to pee again. Oh, let me hurry up. The spider is a true master of her craft. She weaves against all odds with skill, intricacy, and confidence. The 8 of Pentacles requires a similar approach. Hone your skills. Hone your skills. You are close to finding mastery at your craft, so strive for it. Pay attention to it, all the details. In some case, this card means you need to find a new hobby, something you truly enjoy. Start a project and become good at it. I have been feeling that way. I'm like, I do need a new hobby. To be honest, I'm actually thinking about going to, and I know this isn't all about me, this is like a collective reading, but I just need to, like, being neurodivergent and having ADD, ADHD, like, you use your own life to kind of relate to everything else. So I'm not trying to be rude or like egotistical. This is just how I process life. I personally do need a new hobby, something I can like invest my energy into. And I've got to pee, so I'm gonna try to make this quick. But like, yeah, I need a new hobby and a new skill. So, and I've been thinking about going to Al-Anon, because I deal with so many people in my life that are addicts and alcoholics, that I feel like that would be a great place for me to find new tools to manage these relationships with people that have addiction problems like that. And I'm a child of an alcoholic, and I am a child of like other weird, like, you know, like narcissistic type behaviors. And you know, I managed to get myself in an adult relationship and have a child with someone that is an alcoholic and has like narcissistic personality disorders. So it's like combining the two issues that I had with my parents into one person that I have to now deal with to even see my own child. And so, like, yeah, that's like a lot personally. But I think Al-Anon would be great for me. And I would meet people that are on the same life trajectory as me, where alcohol and substances aren't the most important things in their lives. It can be really hard. And I imagine it's extremely hard for my child to be around someone who is like extremely narcissistic and, you know, drinks every day of their life. So, you know, it's difficult for both of us. And I think emotionally I'm like feeling a lot of what my son's feeling, and that's really challenging. So yeah, Al-Anon and new hobbies for me, for sure. Relief. Justice. And this is this is a new card in the deck. Look, I finally got my nails back to regular nails. I cannot stand them. I'm like regular nail, like when people get their nails done and it's like just tips or whatever, just like looks like regular nails, that's fine. But like the whole, like where they look like they've got like popsicle sticks like glued to their fingers, I'm like, I don't get it. Anyways, Justice. This is one of the newer cards in this deck, and it's a beautiful card, and it's got little soleil on it. I've been thinking about getting her a friend, but I think, you know, we're just gonna stick with my little soleil kitty for right now. Justice. Balance of light and dark. We just came through the winter solstice, and it does feel like there's a balancing of light and dark energies in the world right now. Even with me expressing this stuff, like and I've got a piece, so I'm going to be bouncing a little bit, but even if we have been like like dealing with the dark. We're getting ready to come tomorrow. I believe it's tomorrow is Pluto, Sun conjunct Pluto, which, you know, with everything else that we've got going on at the end of the week, seems very like relevant for what we're experiencing right now, or what I'm personally experiencing right now. And then this, the Justice card, the Balance card, the, you know, like righteousness, like writing the trajectory of things, like that to me is a lot of what justice is about. I'm gonna try to hurry this up because I have to pee so bad, and this has just been one big rambling video, but I am so glad I did it. Like, I'm so glad I just did it, because I've been having such a hard time wanting to talk to people. So this is practice for me. This is like, I need to look at this as like a new hobby. I need to like immerse myself in. Okay. Justice, decisions, karma. With tails entwined, two cats look directly at you, waiting for you to choose between them. Which is right and which is wrong? The Justice card implies a weight or heaviness surrounding a choice you have to make. Now is not the time to shun the concept of divine balance or karma. All of your choices affect your life and sometimes the lives of those around you, both now and in the future. So yes, decisions and karma. So we have 8 of Pentacles upright and Justice upright so far as our first 2 cards. I'm feeling that for sure. And it says a choice needs to be made. And I guess I made my choice, because my choice is the Soleil Violet, my little black hole sun over there. She's resting peacefully in her little kitty tree. Oh my goodness, I have to pee, so I'm gonna pick one more. Daughter of Wands, which is the Page of Wands. And so it's reversed, so it's blocked. I get this card a lot, actually. Daughter of Wands. I'm gonna hurry up and read this, and then you have to go to the bathroom. But let me tell you, and this is definitely what I'm feeling is, like, for me personally, like, this is what is blocked. Visionary and passionate. A Daughter of Wands is a free spirit, truly visionary creature. She usually waits until later to settle down or start a family. She's busy with her career. She can be stubborn and much stronger than she looks. As with the Wands family, with all the Wands family, the daughter makes a dangerous enemy. This card can also represent a woman going through a transformation or spiritual breakthrough. Most certainly. I definitely feel like I'm going through a transformation and spiritual breakthrough, and I feel like we as a society might be going through a transformation and spiritual breakthrough. And I do feel like there's a lot of blocked energy around that. And I personally feel like that has to do with our view on emotional intelligence and emotions in general, and how we stir them into our like daily life experiences. And you know, I think that that's important and something we need to look at. And then one of these cards, facade, the fakeness. This is what I've been talking about. So the emotional world helps you like totally work around the facades of things. I have to pee so bad, but those are our cards for today. I love you guys. It's the 16th of January, 2023.